It's time now to review headlines on today's newspapers with Ombudsman of Viste and Arise Media Group and Viste Newspaper Limited's Group Executive Director, Kaide Komalafe. Good morning, KK. It's good to have you back.
Yeah, it's good to have you. It's good to have you here on the show this morning.
Yeah, good morning.
So let's start it off with this day.
Newspaper of record?
Yes, the newspaper of record. So, okay, the headline reads, Southern PDP stakeholders mobilize against RU. Cracks in the party widen. Some of the riders, Wike, Makinde, Fayemi, Omishore meet in London again. Now, this will stores as governors meeting now. Rivers, Abia, or you're absent as Atiku meets party Guba candidates. I am not leaving the PDP, Ikweazu clarifies. Talk to us about this headline. Southern PDP stakeholders mobilize against IU. Cracks in the party widen.
Yep. INEC has announced that in a few weeks' time, the names of the, officially, the names of the presidential candidates and other candidates in other elections will be announced, which means that in a few weeks' time, we should be having a full-blown campaign. So it is so distressing that even as an order we're hearing from these parties about southern segment of a party mobilizing against the northern, against others, and what is happening in PDP is perhaps, across, most of the parties, as we see in the earliest segments of this program, the gentlemen who came, all talking of wranglings within the party, I'm saying that the distressing is that, election is not just about who is flying the candidate, whether it's from the south or whether it's from the north, whether it's approved. It's about a group of people, a party is a group of people who come together, and say that they have a program to solve problems, and therefore seek power, that people will give them the mandate to do so. That in all this country is faced with serious problems, insecurity, in the economic situation, the social situation, and you have all that requires solution. Universities are short, and and it's all about all these problems. They require policies, ideas about how to solve them. So you will expect that in a season of politics where parties are in power, that what should be the differences that we should be talking about, the quarrels, should be on the basis of the divergence of policy. Right now, we should be talking about whose idea is workable in solving the problem of funding tertiary education in this country, for instance, or whose idea is going to be more effective, in tackling insecurity. Should there be a more kinetic approach in tackling, terrorism, or you use, other methods, that are having. So elsewhere, when politicians quarrel, you identify them on the basis of ideas, of policies which they prefer. Well, tomorrow, the new prime minister, of Britain will name. Even from afar, all of us we could see who is for raising tax, who is for tax cuts, Now, today, if you are talking what is different between, Liz Truss, and Rishi Sunak, it is not on the basis of what part of Britain they come from, or what religion they profess, or what is the color of their body. It is on the basis of the policy that they are having. So those who are supporting them on the basis of those policies. So I'm saying that, that in a way, the Nigerian public and even the media, we have indulged, these politicians with this kind of nonsense. That people, they are not addressing the issues. People are not coming up with ideas on how to solve the problem. Rather, they are, just taking the attention of the whole country, about the internal organization. All we hear is that, people are holding meetings in London. The other day, what we could call, a group of eminent Nigerians that we could call the foreign policy establishment in this country issued a very powerful statement, which they call a show of shame. That how could it be that 62 years after independence, our politicians say that they want to discuss political problems, and these problems cannot be discussed in Port Harcourt, not in Enugu, not in Kaduna, not in Ibadan. You have to go to you have to go to London. What is strategic? What is the symbolism of saying that Nigerian politicians, leave their post? Some of them governors who should be addressing burgeoning issues of governance. That you go to London and then all that is what you have in headline. So I'm saying that in a way the Nigerian public, the Nigerian media, we are indulging this kind of nonsense. What we should be here, the news from PDP should not be this this sort of news. It should be about what are those alternative strategies, programs that PDP has in solving the problems, as opposed to what APC is doing, as opposed to what the other parties like the Labour Party and the ADC that they're having, that you should be having a very vigorous debate about the way out of our problem. So my take in all this thing is that what you are having on display is just pure nonsense.
So you see misplaced priorities there.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
All right.
But on this day style, something quite interesting is brewing, talking about inspiration or outright copy. Talking about style houses actually probably drawing inspiration or probably copying.
And it says the fashion industry's biggest albatross.
Yes, it is. It is. And I think it was mentioned there something very, very instructive about this particular issue, because over the years this has been a major issue. And they quoted Coco Chanel, one of the leading houses in style in the world. She says that if you want to be an original, be ready to be copied. Okay.
Well, yes, a lot of creative powerhouses have said that. And I think this is an issue that happens more in the creative scene, where, of course, there is, people say copying is flattery in its own way. But then again, when it takes revenue out of the mouths of the creator, we have a problem.
Yes, we do.
And I guess that's what this is about.
And there could be copyright
industry.
issues,
Absolutely.
Yes, also.
Of course, in the fashion business, you have prints, you have designs. These almost look so similar.
Especially when they're patented,
absolutely.
Yes, of course. If it becomes an intellectual property, certainly there'll be copyright issues. But if not,
of course,
it's a free for all.
It's free for all. Knock yourself out if you can, because you can actually see the similarities between both designers. That one from Banke Kuku and the one on the right from Tiffany Amber.
Yeah, I mean, one would argue, I was a pioneer of this trend, for instance. Well, but then some would say, well, you get onto something else after that, and we'll copy it again.
But you and I know this, that creativity, sometimes unique creativity that actually strikes a chord, is very difficult to come by.
Oh, absolutely.
So when somebody starts a trend, it's easy for others to just...
It's a plague of the creative, pretty much. It really is. All right, let's move on now. Let's look at the Sunday Vanguard, where we have here from Tinubu more details of working pact with Wike, Makinde, Otom revealed. Just right beneath that, we have aggrieved governors won't leave PDP. Why some party governors didn't work for Atiku in 2019. Whatever Wike does, PDP will win in 20... So this seems to be quite loaded with some supposed revelations of sort. Let's get your take on this, KK.
Again, it's partly related to the front page of this day, And incidentally, at the weekend, former President Goodluck Jonathan, made a statement which I think should resonate within the political establishment. Addressing the youth, was giving participating in a lecture in honor of the industrialist, politician, and engineer, Shifu Wayawu. And he's telling the youth that that they should not allow people to manipulate them on the basis of religion, ethnicity, and regionalism. Now, again, I'll say that the front page of Vanguard 2 is about Wike and this. Now, I ask you, what is the program of Wike? What is the idea? What is position of Wike on insecurity? In terms of policy that distinguishes it from other politicians that is pushing, that others are negotiating with him. What is his program on the economy? That is different from it. What is his program on job creation? Of youth, youth employment. What are those ideas that Wike is so passionate about, and on that basis, is quarreling with his party, and that in his party now we'll have to discuss with him, as we are having elsewhere, Even elsewhere, even if you have even parties even coming together and merging, they merge on the basis of program, not just on the basis of personality that one person should be president or prime minister or whatever, but on the basis of those ideas which the respective parties have, and they think they find areas where they are coterminous, and they could work together. So I'm saying again that all this quarrel about the Wike factor, this Wike factor is associated with which ideas?
I think that's a very pertinent question, KK. But at the same time, that's a very pertinent question because we actually talk about Wike so much that it makes you question what are you talking about.
Just carrying along and just parroting what they have been negotiating with Wike, pacify Wike. I mean, it's not the question of pacify anybody. As a person, he has his legitimate. It could be a legitimate position for him to disagree. But I'm saying that, for God's sake, it should be a disagreement on the basis of principle, on the basis of the approach on how to solve the problem. Because that is the purpose of politics. Yeah. Politics is not just because to make a Wike president or to make Atiku president or anybody, but that people should organize and solve a problem. So if Wike has a problem with Atiku, by now we should be able to know that, okay, it's because he, as a PDP person, believes that PDP should follow certain set of policies in solving this problem. And perhaps those who are opposed to him, IU, Atiku, and the rest, I'm just being hypothetical, have a different ideas about how this problem should be solved. And there have been internal party debate on having it, and in the process, people support it.
Right, but many people would argue with you to say that the strife is really not so much about the ideas, but is investment in that party to sort of almost be like a stimulus for those ideas to foster and come to the forefront. That's the argument of that other war. Of course, you have the ideas aspect to say, what are you even striving for? Which is because we talk about it so much, as I said earlier. But others will say he was just unfairly treated, and that's why we are rising to. So what do you say to that?
Then we are legitimizing distraction. I mean, I'm saying that is not the purpose of politics. It's the purpose of politics that because you invest in a party, then you decide on what is there. The reason why people say they go to politics, that they want to have power, to govern, to organize society. I mean, is that not the reason?
No, but that's...
Okay, who goes to election? Who goes to a rally and say that, okay, vote for me because I've invested in a party and therefore I want to have my investment. But you on the rally, you tell people. I mean, what I'm saying that when the political campaign, I mean, nobody is going to go to any rally and be saying all these things that they're talking about. Just wait now. That it's going to be then you will be telling them that you are going to provide education, you are going to provide security, you are going to provide jobs, and the rest. What I'm saying that the stage in which we are now, yes, we in a few weeks' time there will be full-blown campaign when all those things will be held. But I'm saying that at this stage, the debate within parties should have gone beyond what they're talking about now. It should be that the parties now should be putting together their programs, their policies, their strategies on how to solve this problem. And if we're hearing news from parties, it should be news about divergence of possibly, perspectives on how to solve the problem. Not yet.
No, the point I was trying to make.
And I'm saying that in any case, Nigeria does not have the luxury of what they are talking about now because we are actually facing a crisis and we need ideas, we need policies, we need people to put together. As various teams, in solving the problem. Yeah.
So some people have always said that the solution to Nigerians' problems are not in the hands of the politicians for this particular reason. Understanding that, like Reverend Father Machikuka was actually speaking about on Friday here on the morning show, that the APC have lied to Nigerians because they reeled out a litany of programs. Almost all of them, they've either denied or have not been able to live to those expectations. The actual reality is, as they say, politicians are always seeking office or trying to get re-elected. It's one or the two. They are not as concerned about the plights of people or Nigerians than what they seek to gain. It is just a reflection because like you said, There are pertinent issues that needs to be addressed. In other climes, you'll be expecting that if a political candidate comes up with a super program on education, he should be the one trending. He should be the one people will be canvassing to be the next president of the nation. But the politicians in these BL modes of a party have shown that they do not care the less what Nigerians think about them, that they still have their tricks in the box to be able to win elections. So whether they put up programs that can change the fortunes of this nation or not, they are just mere paper documents that they will do what they will do. Because you think about it, from 1999 till this present moment in time, a lot has changed. But you and I know that Nigeria should be farther from where we are at the moment.
But again, that goes back to what you said earlier about misplaced priorities, and this is a very classic example of that.
Yes, and I agree with you. But if we are going to be realistic and practical, in the absence of a revolution, the way we can organize this society is going to be on the basis of the politics which they are playing now,
But this politicians are true color.
What I'm saying is that's why it is our duty, it is the duty of the public, to keep on nudging them, to keep on insisting that we should go, like you said, that we should, like she said, we should go to the fundamentals, to the issues, and we should not indulge them in distracting the public attention. Because I regard all these things as just monumental distraction, from the issues that we should get them to be talking about the issues, to come up with solution. Because if you don't have a revolution, it is this politics that they are playing that would, it's from this politics that we're going to get a solution, to the problem of the country.
All right, let's press further. The Sunday Independent, the headline is bold, it's clear. It says high cost of food. Afan president fingers CBN and others, says Apex Bank's 947 billion naira reached only 33% of farmers. Wants mechanization, implementation of agric policy. Below that, still echoing what we've been saying, 2023, voters are dissatisfied with PDP and APC, says analysts.
That to me is a healthier to do. That is, we are looking at policies. What is being done, how it is being done. Is it right? Are we getting enough? The outcomes. Are they satisfactory or they are not satisfactory? And what are the alternatives? So if a survey says that voters are dissatisfied with both PDP and with the APC and PDP and PDP, then what would they expect that the alternative voices now should now come up with different strategies, different visions about how to solve the problem, and discussions now should be based on that, so that this alternative then like President Goodluck said it should not President Jonathan said it should not be on the basis of they should not be on the basis of ethnicity, religion, or regionalism, but on the basis of those ideas, those policies, how efficacious are they in solving the problem that we have. So that for me is a healthier approach to the matter. Yeah.
All right. Okay, let's move on to the Sunday Telegraph. And this is a discussion we had just before you came in, KK. And this is crisis as ADC suspends presidential candidate Dumebi Kachuku, accuses him of working for Atiku, and tenure of the NWC expired. I'm opposed to elongation, says candidate. Of course, we had this conversation before you came in, but it will be very interesting to get your take on this. We had in studio with us Mr. Adeni Kunu, who of course emphasized that this is all just another distraction from their course. What do you make of this?
I'm saying that it's just the same trend. The oldest party, in this dispensation, that is the party that has maintained its form consistently, since 1999. The oldest is PDP, and it's been in charge of governance for 16 years, Now, while PDP is battling to save his soul, or rather, there's a battle to save PDP from itself. Even younger parties, following in the footsteps of PDP, that a young party with young candidates who are supposed to be, quote unquote, the new entrance to politics, that what they are also engaging again in the ADC. I listened to both those who featured in the earlier segments of this program. Did any of them talk about any program? Did they talk about? Did they say? Did they mention that between Dumebi and Nwosu that this is because they disagree on how to solve the problem of education, or that the economic policy of Nwosu or Dumebi is different from that of Nwosu, or that or Dumebi or Nwosu has a different approach to insecurity? That is the point I'm making. So what is the business of people about how they organize their party? It's like you're having companies. The consumers are interested in the products of those companies. So how do you organize? How you do your corporate management or whatever? It's not the business of the public. That you are relating to. It is what you have produced and that you want to become to sell, that people are interested in, and it's on that basis, that they relate it to you. But what I'm saying is that we are taking airtime, we are taking space in the newspaper, and a good time of the public, solving
trivial issues,
trivial issues, No, but and which again is the point you are making, that even though I don't share your rather pessimistic view, even though you are evoking Bishop Hooker, that to say that the solution will not come, from them, is to say that we should resign, So resignation is not the issue. The issue is that this is where the civil society, that is people who are not, part of the political parties, should come in, to push, to insist, that the right thing, should be done, So the same message, that I have for PDP is what I have for ADC. That rather the ADC should come up, articulate his program, that it's internal, a problem, It's not the business of the Nigerian voters who are looking towards 2023 to make a choice, and that choice should be based, if it's rational, should be based
on the quality of your ideas,
on the ideas and the policies.
But KK, I think what the Southern Delegate has done is to remind Nigerians that, and also remind the politicians that they have just 24 days before the presidential campaign actually kicks off. So they need to put their acts in order, as they say, while APC, PDP, Labour Party, NNPP are yet to constitute campaign councils with 24 days to the beginning of presidential campaigns. And it goes to say jitters in the APC, PDP over Obi's challenge, Jonathan to the youths. He also spoke at the Bishop Cooker's birthday, his 70th birthday, Take Back Your Country. Then PDP candidates, aspirants pledge support for Atiku. But a very, very interesting story at the top left corner of that New Telegraph that says all theft. The federal government will probe those with dubious wealth sources, says Mele Kyari, talking about GMD of NNPC.
No, I think if we have a problem, theft, at least in the law, is a crime. All theft is a crime. Nothing. I think that the law should take its course. There is no point, announcing, that you're going to probe. Theft is not just a matter of probe. It is a matter of the law taking its course. It's investigated. Those people who are involved, are apprehended and then prosecuted according to the law.
No, but what do you make of that particular? Because a lot of people have criticized this government that they keep saying or keep raising the hopes of Nigerians by saying that they know the culprits in this dastardly acts.
Yeah, that's what he's saying.
That's what I'm saying. That in any organized society, if you have a case of theft, whether it is oil or any other thing, by our law, it's a crime. And there is the criminal, justice system. There is the justice system. So I'm saying that it is for the law, to follow its course. That is what the public is expecting. That is why that is the way it should be done. Yeah.
We're hoping that more than, like you said, more than probe just happening. People
basically
should actually
would
be made to answer for their crimes.
Listen to or be infiltrated with information about what you have done from the concept of your ideas, quality of ideas, as you mentioned earlier, and how are you holding people to task as well, as opposed to announcements of internal wranglings and suspicions of theft, or maybe even saying, "Oh, we already know who stole. So what are you going to do? Let's hear about this." I think that's an interesting perspective.
That is for the law enforcement agents, to handle. And we have there's a system, there's a law enforcement system in this country, which can handle it. Yeah.
Okay, let's take a look at The Guardian. We have here 2023 presidency. In whose interest is Obasanjo's national agenda?
Big question.
This is a blanket question. This is a really big one. But of course, I think there will be some more context when one gets into this. We also have here, ASU strike, federal government restates stand on no work, no pay policy. And this is a conversation we've had over the course of the last few weeks. Very interesting to see where that's going to go. Elite criminals stealing $14.6 billion worth of oil yearly. I think this is very relatable to what we spoke earlier. All right, so do you have anything to say about this one? In whose interest is Obasanjo's national agenda?
Yes, I think that question should be put in the context of the role of the parties, the place of parties in this disposition, in this politics that we're playing. It's quite clear. The Constitution says that this presidential, this liberal democracy that is being practiced is to be a party-based one, a multi-party, system. But I discovered that increasingly, the parties, as organic structures, are being rendered irrelevant. Politicians, both by act and even in terms of the statement they make, that the party is not more than like people say, a vehicle that you can just board, in your journey, to power, But the Constitution, the Constitution of Nigeria, gives greater rules than that, to parties, The job of a political party is not just during the election season, as we have, just to compile names of candidates and submit to INEC, and then the party has nothing. Just earlier, we were talking about policy, though. Policy formulation, policy articulation, the defense of policies. When the party, comes to power, it is still the duty of the political party, to do the mobilization, political education, mobilizing voters all around. So it's not only during elections that parties, should come alive, and then after candidates win the election or lose the election, and the parties, go into limbo. Now, talking of this Obasanjo's agenda, put it in that context, that Obasanjo is actually demonstrating that, that is the total irrelevance of the party, And I think if anybody should push that kind of position, Obasanjo should be the last person. Because perhaps, like I always say, that perhaps he's the luckiest politician in Nigerian history, so far that we'll see, in terms of how, got to power, especially, in this dispensation, The PDP, constructed, Obasanjo was not part of it because it was just, released from the president, where, Abacha, unjustly, put him. And after the construction of PDP, he won election on the platform of that party twice, such that the first 8 years of this dispensation, Obasanjo was president. So I think the least that should be expected of Obasanjo is to be a party man. If the party has problems, like we have in other places, Obasanjo as an elder of the party, as a leader of the party, you help in strengthening, But now, at this stage, that you're having a national agenda. But I mean, that's not like that's not like a national agenda different from the agenda that the different parties are putting. Because it is quite clear, nobody is going to contest this election as an independent candidate.
Is he still a member of the PDP?
I'm coming. Yes, I'm saying that that all this is just a way of just trying to make up for for his adjusting the PDP. Rather, I will expect Obasanjo to roll over his sleep and then strengthen the PDP. Haven't been a beneficiary. Because like I said, that perhaps more than any other person, Obasanjo has benefited from PDP. So at this stage, I mean, so it's unfair. It's unfair now for him to be talking of meeting all the candidates, you know, from APC to Labour Party to all manner. I'm talking of national agenda. It doesn't have. There is no. I mean, this election, there is no candidate who is going to contest on the basis of his own personality. You know, every candidate is going to contest on the platform of a party.
True.
You know, so and we should not be rent by acts. You know, either wittingly or unwittingly, be rendering, you know, political parties, you know. So I rather think that Obasanjo's agenda should be how to go back to the political party to which he has benefited, you know, and strengthen the PDP, and, you know, to make it a force, you know, in the political realm that can compete, you know, adequately, you know. So I think what is doing that history will not be kind to him, you know, on this pursuit of so-called nebulous national agenda. Yeah.
All right, before we go, the Sunday Punch, the headline: Employment embargo, shortages of professors hit federal varsities. All right, no federal varsity has 50% of required professors. That's what the NUC data is actually reading. IPPIS frustrating dead retired professor replacements, says Dons of University and ASU, then resume before asking to be paid. The minister tells striking lecturers. Yeah,
it's another manifestation of the problem that we are having, that we don't have up to 50% of the what should be the professor rate, you know, in our universities, you know, and this is happening at the time when the official, both the official and even the non-official response, you know, to the problem, you know, are largely unhelpful. Yes, ASU in its methods, you know, might be making mistakes. You know, for example, definitely that the strike. I've been talking of indefinite strike. You know, is definitely not a right strategy at this time. But that is not a justification, you know, for what is being done, you know, to those people that we have assigned the role of production of knowledge, because that is what university teachers, that is their role in society to do, you know. Rather than engaging them and, you know, solving the problem fundamentally, what we have is that people continue to rain insult on ASU, you know, denigration, you know, not just government officials, even private people, you know, journalists, you know, columnists, public intellectuals. So I'm just that, you know, this humiliation of ASU, insulting university lecturers, is not going to solve the problem, you know. Rather, what we are going to have is what you have on the front page of Punch today. That more and more, you know, people will quit the system, you know, and then when you have a depletion, that you have faculties that the professoriate, you know, is nothing to write home about, that definitely will impair the quality of production of knowledge. So rather than having a very honest, you know, debate on how to tackle the problem of funding, you know, tertiary education, you know, look at the various options, you know, people have now substituted, you know, that the finding of the solution to just raining abuses and insulting and humiliating in university lecturers. So I'm just saying that that trend is going to continue if this, you know, approach, you know, of both government officials and members of the public, you know, insulting, university teachers rather than finding solutions to the problem.
I want to say many thanks to you,
Thank you so much,
for your time, as you helped us unravel some of the headlines of today's newspapers.
Thank you so much.
It was a pleasure.
Thank you so much. Yeah.